You sit in your favorite armchair, the house finally quiet, a good book resting in your hands. The sun has dipped below the horizon, and the room is filled with that soft, comforting twilight. You squint slightly, leaning in closer to the page as the words start to blur just a fraction, but you push through because you just have to finish this chapter. Then a voice from your childhood echoes in the back of your mind. Maybe it was your mother, or perhaps a strict teacher warning you, don't read in the dark, you'll ruin your eyes forever. It is a fear that sits deep in our subconscious, the idea that we are actively breaking something fragile within us just by trying to enjoy a story in low light. We need to stop right there and take a deep breath because I have some news that might just lift a weight off your shoulders. The idea that reading in low light causes permanent physical damage to your eyes is largely a myth. It is one of those old wives' tales that has persisted for generations, fueled by concern but lacking in biological reality. However, that doesn't mean reading in the dark is good for you, nor does it mean you aren't feeling real pain. There is a massive difference between damaging your eyes and straining them, and understanding that difference is the key to preserving your reading life well into your later years. Today, we are going to walk through exactly what is happening biologically when the lights go down, and we are going to build a scientifically perfect reading environment that will keep your eyes comfortable, sharp, and healthy. Before we dive into the biology of your vision, I want to invite you to join our community here. If you believe that your golden years should be your most knowledgeable years, consider subscribing. We share the kind of deep dive senior health tips that doctors often overlook in rushed appointments. And speaking of reading, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? And what is the last great book you read? Drop a comment down below. Let's get a conversation started. Now, let's tackle this monster under the bed, the difference between strain and damage. When you read in low light, you are forcing your eyes to work much harder than usual, but you are not causing the eyeball to change shape or the retina to wear out. Think of your eyes like your legs. If you run a marathon, your legs will be sore, your muscles will be tired, and you might even limp the next day. But you haven't ruined your legs, you have simply fatigued them. The exact same principle applies to your eyes. The medical term for this is times asthenopia, asterisk, or simply eye strain. Here is the science behind what is happening in that dim room. Your eye contains a ring of muscle called the ciliary body. Its job is to change the shape of your lens to focus on near objects, a process called accommodation. When the lighting is poor, contrast decreases. The black text doesn't pop against the white page. It turns into a muddy gray against a dark gray. Your eyes have to hunt for focus. The ciliary muscle contracts, relaxes, and contracts again, searching for clarity. Simultaneously, your iris, the colored part of your eye, is opening the pupil as wide as possible to let in more light. You are essentially asking your eyes to sprint a marathon while carrying a heavy backpack. But here is the proof that this is temporary. A comprehensive review published in the Times British Medical Journal Times examined the long-term effects of low light reading and concluded that while it causes temporary symptoms like headaches and dryness, there is no evidence, none, that it leads to permanent pathology or a change in prescription in adults. The structure of the eye remains safe. So while you might feel like you've done damage because your head is pounding, rest assured that a good night's sleep essentially hits the reset button. Imagine your eye muscles are just like your biceps after lifting groceries. They need rest, not surgery. However, just because it's not permanent damage doesn't mean we should ignore it. For us seniors, the stakes are higher because our physiology has changed. We aren't working with the same equipment we had at 20. This brings us to the most critical adjustment you need to make, your lighting environment. It is not enough to just turn on a light. We need to engineer your lighting. As we age, a few things happen to the eye that make lighting absolutely non-negotiable. First, the pupil becomes smaller and less responsive, a condition known as senile miosis. It sounds intimidating, but it just means your aperture is smaller, letting in less light. Furthermore, the lens inside the eye slowly yellows and thickens over time. This acts like a filter, blocking some of the light that would otherwise reach your retina. Because of these biological changes, a 60-year-old requires significantly more light to see the same details as a 20-year-old. In fact, according to data from the Times Illuminating Engineering Society, asterisk, an older adult may need up to 3 times more ambient light to read comfortably compared to their younger self. This brings us to the concept of the lumen gap. You might be reading with a 60-watt equivalent bulb that was fine 10 years ago, but now it leaves you squinting. We need to upgrade your lumens. But, and this is a big but, we cannot just blast the room with brightness or we risk glare. Glare is the enemy of the aging eye because as the lens clouds slightly, it scatters light, causing a halo effect that reduces contrast. So, what is the perfect setup? You want to create what lighting designers call layered lighting. Start with ambient light, the overhead light in the room, to prevent the cave effect. The cave effect happens when you have a bright book in a pitch black room. Your eyes constantly have to adjust between the bright page and the dark room every time you look up, which is exhausting. Keep a soft light on in the room. Next, introduce a directed task light. This is your secret weapon. You want a lamp with an adjustable arm, often called a gooseneck lamp. The position is critical. Place the light source to the side of you and slightly behind so it shines over your shoulder and onto the page. If you are right-handed, place the lamp on your left. Why? To prevent the shadow of your hand from dancing across the text as you turn pages. Shadows create micro adjustments for the eye, leading to fatigue. Let's talk about the quality of that light bulb. You have probably stood in the hardware store aisle staring at soft white, daylight, and cool white, wondering which one to pick. For reading, we look at the Kelvin scale, which measures color temperature. A standard cozy living room bulb is usually around 2,700 Kelvin, very yellow. While relaxing, this yellow hue lowers contrast. On the other end, 6,500 Kelvin is harsh, blue daylight that can feel clinical. Research suggests that for older eyes, a cool white or bright white bulb sitting around 3,500 to 4,100 Kelvin offers the best balance. It provides enough blue light to keep the contrast high, making black letters look truly black without the harsh glare of an industrial floodlight. Imagine the difference between reading by a candle versus reading by a window on a cloudy day. We want that window light clarity. Now that we have the lighting dialed in, we have to look at the object of your affection, the book itself. The size of the text and the medium you are reading on play a massive role in how quickly your eyes tire. We are living in a golden age for readers because we have choices our parents never had. If you are a devotee of physical books, you might have noticed that paperbacks seem to be shrinking. They aren't, but your near point focus is pushing further away. This is presbyopia, the natural hardening of the lens that makes near vision difficult. If you find yourself tromboning, moving the book back and forth to find the sweet spot, you are straining. A study published in the Journal Times, Vision Research Times, found that reading speed drops significantly when font size falls below a certain critical threshold. Even if the text is still technically readable, the effort required to decipher small text slows your blink rate and increases tension in the forehead. This is where I strongly encourage you to embrace large print books or, even better, e-readers. I know nothing beats the smell of old paper, but let's look at the science of the e-reader. Devices like the Kindle or Kobo allow you to adjust not just the font size, but the font weight and style. Increasing the font size essentially does the focusing work for you, allowing the ciliary muscle to relax. But there is a hidden feature on these devices that is a game changer for seniors, the inverted mode. Inverted mode or dark mode switches the screen to a black background with white text. For many people with cataracts or vitreous floaters, a bright white page can be overwhelming. The white background acts like a light source shining directly into the eye, scattering light and illuminating those annoying little floaters drifting in your vision. By switching to a black background, you reduce the total amount of light entering the eye, which reduces glare and makes those floaters disappear into the darkness. It creates a high contrast environment where the letters pop. If you haven't tried reading in dark mode, give it a shot tonight. It might feel strange for the first 5 minutes, but your eyes will thank you. However, a word of caution on digital screens. We have to talk about blue light. Most digital devices emit a high energy blue light that can interfere with melatonin production, the hormone that tells your body it is time to sleep. A study from Times Harvard Medical School Times compared the effects of reading a paper book versus a light emitting e reader before bed. The e reader group took longer to fall asleep and had reduced morning alertness. The fix? Most modern devices have a warmth setting. Schedule it to turn on automatically at sunset. It turns the screen a soft amber color, filtering out that stimulating blue light while keeping the text sharp. It's like reading by a very sophisticated candlelight. We have covered lighting and text, but how do you know when you have pushed too far? Sometimes we are so engrossed in a plot twist that we ignore the signals our body is sending us until it's too late. You need to learn to recognize the early warning signs of overstrain before they turn into a migraine. The first sign is usually not pain, it's dryness. When we focus on a task, we stop blinking. Biologically, the human eye should blink about 15 to 20 times per minute. This spreads the tear film across the cornea, nourishing it and washing away dust. However, research from the University of Iowa Times indicates that when we are looking at a screen or concentrating on a book, our blink rate can plummet by up to 66%. We stare. The tear film evaporates, leaving the cornea exposed to the air. This leads to that gritty, sandy feeling. If you feel like there is sand in your eyes, you have already been straining for too long. The second sign is referred pain. You might not feel it in your eyes, you might feel it in your neck or shoulders. When we struggle to see, we subconsciously jut our chin forward or tilt our head to adjust our angle of vision, especially if we are wearing progressive lenses. We hold this rigid posture for 40 minutes, and suddenly we have a tension headache radiating from the base of the skull. This is your body screaming that your eyes are unhappy. So, how do we fix this? I want to give you a reading comfort checklist. Think of this as your pre-flight check before you take off into a good story. First on our list is the 20-20-20 rule. You have likely heard this, but I want to explain why it works. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. Why 20 feet? Because at 20 feet, the ciliary muscles that control focusing are fully relaxed. When you look at the horizon or a picture on the far wall, you are effectively unclenching the fist of your eye muscle. It allows blood flow to return and tension to dissipate. Set a timer on your phone if you have to, or use a bookmark as a reminder. Next, we need to address hydration. And I don't just mean drinking water, I mean artificial tears. As we age, our tear production decreases in both volume and quality. Our tears become less oily and evaporate faster. A study in the Journal Times, Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science Times, highlighted how tear film stability is crucial for visual acuity. If your tear film breaks up, the image becomes blurry, forcing your eye to refocus. Keep a bottle of preservative-free artificial tears next to your reading chair. One drop before you start reading can act like primer on a canvas, ensuring the surface is smooth and ready for work. Note that I said preservative-free. These come in single-use vials or special bottles and are much gentler on the eyes if you use them frequently. Avoid the red eye reducer drops. Those constrict blood vessels and can actually make things worse over time. Another item on our checklist is your prescription. When was the last time you had a comprehensive eye exam? Not a quick screening, but a full dilation. Prescriptions change subtly. A deviation of even 0.5 diopters can cause significant strain over an hour of reading. If you are using drugstore cheaters or reading glasses, that is fine, but ensure they are the right power. If you have to hold the book closer than usual or at arm's length to see clearly, the power is wrong. Wearing the wrong glasses is like wearing shoes that are half a size too small. You can walk, but eventually it's going to hurt. Let's also talk about the humidity in your reading room. In the winter, or if you have the air conditioning blasting, the air becomes incredibly dry, which accelerates that tear evaporation we talked about. Introducing a small humidifier in your reading nook can keep the ambient moisture levels up, keeping your eyes naturally lubricated. It's a small tweak that pays huge dividends for comfort. Finally, we have to talk about the content of what you are reading, not the story, but the physical medium. If you are reading on a tablet or phone, check for glare. The glass screen can reflect the lamp or window behind you. This reflection creates a veiling glare that washes out the text. You can buy matte screen protectors for a few dollars that cut this glare down significantly, making the screen look more like paper. If you are reading a glossy magazine, you might need to adjust your lamp angle more frequently to bounce that shine away from your line of sight. If you are finding these practical tips helpful, please do take a second to hit that thumbs up button. It helps us get this information to other seniors who might be struggling with their reading vision unnecessarily. Now, let's summarize what we have learned so we can turn this knowledge into habit. We have busted the myth. Reading in low light does not cause permanent blindness or damage, but it does cause significant, uncomfortable strain that can ruin your evening. We learned that as we age, we need 3 times more light than we did in our youth. We discovered the power of the Lumen Gap and how to fix it with a cool white task lamp positioned to banish shadows. We talked about the importance of high contrast, using e-readers to boost font size, and the critical need to blink and hydrate the eyes. This isn't just about biology, it is about independence. Reading is one of the profound joys of life. It keeps our brains sharp, it transports us to different worlds, and it connects us to new ideas. You should never have to give that up just because of manageable eye strain. You have the tools now to take control of your environment. You are not at the mercy of your aging eyes. You are the architect of a system that supports them. So here's my challenge to you tonight. Don't just suffer through the blur. Look at your reading nook with fresh eyes. Move that lamp, bump up that font size, buy those lubricating drops. Treat your eyes with the same care you would treat a grandchild. Protect them, nurture them, and give them the best environment to thrive. I have one final question for you to ponder and answer in the comments. What is the one change you are going to make to your reading setup after watching this? Is it the lighting, the font size, or maybe the blinking rule? Let me know below. And if you want to keep optimizing your health and staying ahead of the curve, make sure you subscribe because your health is worth fighting for. And we are in this together. Keep reading, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video.